What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Trust the Bank podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube, this is the first segment of our Trust the Bank podcast recording. We've been really good the last couple of weeks. We've been coming out with probably 2 a week, which we love doing them. It's a lot of fun to be able to record in bulk and talk about things that you guys want to hear about. But if you're watching this on YouTube and you're like, man, I want to listen to these other segments. I want to hear about Josh Bynes. I want to hear about, the draft and can the Ravens get instant impact guys? Well, you can check out the podcast platform and be able to see all of that stuff, or I guess not see, listen to it over there, or you can wait next couple of days. They will be coming out. But, let's get into it. Let's talk about some Ravens news that came out today that I'm going to say I was pretty surprised by. I'm not going to say that I'm against it, but let's talk about Melvin Gordon, because it came out today that the Ravens are actually interested in signing the former Charger, now former Bronco running back, to a deal to probably be that running back 3, maybe an RB1 to start the year as they, bring back JK and Gus Edwards. But, just be that third guy in the committee to take some of the load off of some, rehabbing players from injury. What do you think about bringing in Melvin Gordon, Joshua?
I mean, honestly, I'm not really opposed to it. You know me, guys. I love my running back guys. I know I saw some people on Twitter even talk about bringing back Devontae Freeman. Honestly, Devontae Freeman was having a good stretch too towards the end of the season. So I mean, if that happens, I wouldn't be mad at it either. I mean, EDC and everybody in the facility said, this upcoming season they're not going. Their plan is not to rush everyone back, which is the smart thing to do with all the injuries that we took last year. But me personally, I'm more on the bus of seeing one of my guys out the doghouse. Tyshawn Williams and Nate McQuarrie. I feel like it would be the Kenneth Dixon, Gus Edwards show all over again. Because I believe Kenneth Dixon and Gus Edwards did play with Lamar Jackson for a little bit, and that show was it was very beautiful, I might add. So I mean, you had your back that can scat and get up the field. You had a little bit of moves, then you had your power. You literally had the same tandem, and they're both 6 footers plus, and about 220 plus. And Nate McQuarrie moves so good on his feet, but Tyshawn is one of the hardest runners. So I mean, if he gets up the doghouse, for this upcoming season, I would love to see that. I would love to see that combination. But adding a veteran like Melvin Gordon, McConnell, I know you're probably going to his stats, but I think he did pretty well for the past 2 years out in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of Melvin Gordon coming out of Wisconsin. I was a bit upset when I believe he was on the team with Russell Wilson that lost in the Rose Bowl, but you know what? Oh, well. The biggest thing that I see with him is, he's not the same guy that he was in LA. When he first started off his career, it was arguable that he was on the same tier as the guy that he was, coming out with, from the University of Georgia, Mr. Todd Gurley, who eventually went on to become arguably the best running back in the NFL for a couple years before the injuries kind of took a toll on his body. Melvin Gordon was an elite running back. He was a Pro Bowler 2 times in San Diego. I guess he moved to LA, midway through his career, but sorry, San Diego fans. But then he goes to Denver. And 2 seasons ago, it's weird that we're in the next season officially now. But in 2020, his first year in Denver, he was the guy. They had, I believe, Philip Lindsay back then, but it was clear that Melvin Gordon was the running back for them. And he was the head of the committee, I'll say. He wasn't the, every down back, but he played really well. Denver has a good offensive line, so I'm not trying to say like, oh, he was the greatest running back of all time, but he nearly had 1,000 yards rushing. He only played in 15 games, started in 10, had 9 touchdowns, 986 yards. Also, he caught the ball for 158 yards and got a receiving touchdown. So that's something to keep an eye on too. Is he is a guy that can catch the ball? Is he Christian McCaffrey? Is he Austin Eckler? No, but he can catch the football. Then in 2021, the Broncos go out and they draft Javonte Williams. Love Javonte Williams. I think he's a great player. So they obviously kind of decided, you know what, Javonte Williams was great, but Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams were a 1-2 punch. They were just about even in how often they were used, and it showed. And both of them were very effective with the football in their hands. Melvin Gordon in the season, 203 rushes, 918 yards, 8 touchdowns. Had a 70-yard rushing touchdown. The year before, he had a 64-yard rush. Actually, I don't know if it was touchdown. That was his longest rush, but usually 70-yard rush means touchdown. And he averaged over 4.5 yards per carry in both of those years. Anybody that can average 4.5 yards per carry is a guy that I'm okay with on the Baltimore Ravens. If they are proven to be able to run the football consistently and be able to run it between the tackles and be able to score touchdowns, that's valuable to me. And I like Nate McCurry. I like Tyshawn Williams. But one of the biggest things is they're still inexperienced, and we don't know. Like, obviously, we can look at potential, right? Tyshawn Williams, the first game of his career against the Las Vegas Raiders, had a pretty good game. But he didn't get those other opportunities. Now, whether or not he should have, totally different argument. I think he should have gotten some more opportunities. But he didn't show a lot to be able to be like, okay, this guy can be a consistent, really solid running back in the NFL. Or at least he can't for the Ravens because he won't get played. Melvin Gordon is a guy that I see as being able to come in on a cheap deal. He was on a 2-year, $16 million deal in Denver. He's expected to get less money than that because he's now a little bit older. Spot Trek has him valuated at about $5 million, 5.2 on a 1-year deal. I think that is worthwhile. And to be able to have a guy come in and be the third guy, because Melvin Gordon wouldn't have to go out there and carry the ball 220 times this year. Not like he has the last couple of seasons, rushing for 200 attempts. That's not what he needs to do. He needs to come in, be some fresh legs, and, maybe in certain short yardage situations, but it just provides so much opportunity for the Ravens to be able to have 3 very solid running backs. And I would say 1 elite running back, 1 really good running back, and 1 good to mildly good. I don't really know. A little bit above good is Melvin Gordon.
That
really good
to me would be more of a gadget guy, though.
That's okay. That's fair. I've thought about the Ravens trying to go after a guy in the draft. I love Tyler Beatty as a guy to come out and be a pass catching running back. But I just don't know if the Ravens want to go in that direction. Like, Lamar just has not had a lot of success throwing to the running backs. And I can't remember if it's Lamar's fault or if it's the running backs, aren't great pass catchers. But, JK and Gus did work on that. That was all we heard about last offseason.
Yeah.
These guys have been working on their hands. They've been working on the route running. That was the biggest thing. And JK, I think, holding on to the football. That was what they talked about every single time. Oh, it's just been working on the hands. Then they got hurt, so we didn't really get to see if it worked out. But I think the Ravens do have confidence in JK and Gus to be able to catch the ball, because Gus was solid. Gus was pretty solid. JK had some drops, but at Ohio State, he was solid, and I think he can be really good. So I think the Ravens could go after a guy that's a pass catcher, but I'm just wondering, like, maybe they go after a pass-catching running back to be the 4th running back, but be a significant special teams player. Basically take over Justice Hill, take over his role.
Just saying. Honestly, no. Seriously though, y'all. I'm looking at Dameon Pierce out of Florida. 5'10", strong guy. He doesn't fall off the first line of contact. He has good hips, stays low to the ground. Honestly, he is how can I say it? A better version of Nate McCurry. He is.
There is no better version of Nate McCurry. He's the greatest running back of all time.
Listen, Nate McCurry is very silky. He's very smooth. He knows how to, take his time and hit the hole. But, getting a guy like at 5'10", 218 pounds is probably going to add some more weight, and ran literally maybe a 4.4, 4.5 during that pro day, and, doesn't lose balance, and, has good hands coming out the backfield. Think about having a twin double backs in the backfield with JK and Dameon Pierce, both of them flaring out, or one goes up and cut across the line. And you got Rashad Bateman going up top across the middle. Then you have Hollywood, stretching the field, going deep. Sometimes you don't always need Money Mark out there. I don't know who's going to be the opposite wide receiver on the outside, but he
George
can always
Pickens.
Ooh, okay. Let's go with Pickens then. Let's go with the big dog. Let's go with the, that plays Ravens way. That plays like a bigger version of Steve Smith. That doesn't take no crap for nobody. I love that. So see him on a 10 and out. Lamar will finally have more options than before, and it won't all be stacked onto the right side of the field. So honestly, I would bring in someone like that, So I definitely do see us maybe going either undrafted or maybe drafting, a power back in the later rounds, maybe a Hassan Haskins out of University of Michigan.
The draft is an interesting way of looking at the running back spot because they absolutely could. And I think, the way that Eric DaCosta, he gave a very political approach when they asked him about, running back in the first round. He was like, well, honestly, there isn't a running back that should go in the first round this year, which is funny. I don't know why somebody would even ask about that because there's nobody that's even projected, I think, a first round pick overall. So I just think that's a little bit ironic. But, overall, I think one of the biggest things is when you're looking at the Ravens roster, they have 10 picks. Do they want to use any of those 10 picks on a running back? They could, and they could get a good guy.
I see that.
They could go undrafted like they have the last couple years, but for some reason, they don't give the undrafted guys an opportunity, even though they showcase that if given the opportunity, they can actually be really solid. Tyson Williams, Nate McCrary, those are potential guys. Or they go in the later round draft pick selection. I honestly think Melvin Gordon would be a good signing. The issue is I think they could use their money better somewhere else in bringing in a Calais Campbell or bringing in an edge rusher or something like that. So it's not something where I'm against it. I think it could be a good move, but I think there's better moves out there. It's kind of my take on it. I don't know. Do you agree with that? Like, it would be solid, but they should do it somewhere else.
I mean, one thing for certain, two things for sure. Ravens can always find running backs and tight ends, whether it's undrafted, drafted, or somebody on the back end of their career, and they still get some good production out of them. So I definitely agree with you in regards of maybe not being so interested or heavily invested in the Melvin Gordon interest talk. I definitely would see about bringing back Calais Campbell. Yes, we have Michael Pierce, but Michael Pierce, I wouldn't say injury prone, but he did suffer some injuries in Minnesota. I mean, we had Justin Metabike, we had Broderick Washington, but having one of those veterans like a Calais Campbell, maybe even talking to Jadeveon Clowney would be more suffice because honestly, pressure make diamonds, defense win championships. And we're trying to get back to this age of having a strong style defense that can lead us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, let us know if you're watching this on YouTube. Comment down below your thoughts. I put out a poll about should the Ravens sign Melvin Gordon. I've been trying to put out a lot of YouTube polls. I also put them out on Twitter a lot of the times. But, contribute in those. It's just something to see how we can gauge the audience in a really effective way. I think YouTube polls is the best way because it gets a lot more people that follow us on YouTube than Twitter. So it gets a lot more investment from everyone. But, let us know.